Hey everyone, we are currently in the process of renovating a rather large space where we've put a beautiful custom coffee bar in and a custom countertop made of concrete, and that concrete countertop needs lighting. And we've happened to found it. We went to IKEA and picked up these beautiful pendant lights. We have 4 of them. The only problem is I've got 5 feet of cord and I've got a ceiling that's about 20 feet in the center, sloping to 10 feet on each side. So I need to change this cord length. In this video, I'm going to show you quickly how you can take this 5-foot cord and turn it into the length that fits your needs and that you'll like. Stay tuned. Here's a quick example of some of the tools that you'll need for this project. And these tools are pretty common, should be in most homeowners' homes, whether they're in a kitchen drawer shoved away. They should be readily available. We have our tape measure, electric tape. We've got wire cutters, scissors. If you do not have wire strippers, these work just as well. We've got a small slotted screwdriver, we've got a larger slotted screwdriver, and we've got vice grips here. We'll talk a little bit more about these as we get into this, but I just wanted to give you an example of what you might need to complete this project, along with your braided cord. Alright guys, we have our socket here. We've gotten rid of the pendant top part that just popped off the bottom. That's just a decorative piece. We're at the business end now, and we have successfully removed the armature piece. This is actually what holds the light on. And if you didn't see before, as I try to fumble this thing together, almost got it. It's coming. There we go. This is held together by this nut. And this nut is what's holding this whole thing together, keeping it secure and making sure that it can hold that pendant in place. This needs to come off. Now from the factory, this comes really tight. So that was why we needed to use the vice grips. So to get this off, I basically wrapped it in my electric tape to help keep the surface from getting marred from the teeth of the vice grip, and then just threaded it off. Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, pretty simple to do. And then we can remove this armature piece away from this. Now we've got this guy. Now this is a 2-piece construction. It's just a standard plastic bulb socket. It's got these tabs coming off the side. These have really nothing to do with pulling this thing apart. This is the strain relief. This is how the strain relief is captured between these 2 pieces. These slots have nothing to do with removing this. Really, the simplest way to remove this is to take a small screwdriver. Look at this extension coming up from the bottom. It's basically a tab. As you can see it there. I'm going to put my screwdriver in here and I'm going to pop it. And just like that, both sides are popped off. Now I've got the inner workings, the exposed inside of this thing. And you can see here's the strain relief. And the strain relief is on that plastic. Actually, it is a plastic strain relief that's really captured pretty tightly on here. I would caution when you remove this. This is a plastic set screw and it might not come off as easily as it looks like it would. So it's possible this could get stripped. We'll see what happens. All right, so we now have this, looking at the plastic in here where the 2 wires come in. If you notice, and if this camera can focus and maybe get the light right, there are 2 slots. Get my screwdriver here. 2 slots inside here. And these slots on either side are what allow you to be able to remove these wires. These are press-in wires, much like some of the newer outlets, wall outlets, where you can just push in the wire instead of wrapping it around the nut. So to remove this, all we're going to do is push these things in, and they should pop right out. There's 1, and there's 2. So now we have completely separated this. Now, question. Gold and silver. You're going to see these on the inside, much like when you're wiring up an outlet. Black goes to gold, white goes to silver. Remember that when you put this back onto the back of the terminal. Now that we have that removed, this is pretty much free to go. Now let's see if we can get that strain relief off. All right, so I looked at this and I think I'm going to go ahead and do it. It's plastic. I'm a little apprehensive, but I don't really have any other options. But we're going to try to unscrew this. We're going to see what happens because metal tools can kind of mar the surface. So let's just see. We're going to take this guy. We're just going to, oh, that was actually pretty easy. Okay. So we're going to undo that. And I'm going to undo that all the way as much as I can. And then we should be able to slide that off. So now we've got our strain relief slid off. We can now slide off our whole assembly cord, the nut, and now this is not needed. All right, everyone, have you been keeping track of all of the parts that we've accumulated here? This is the whole light bulb assembly laid out before you. Make sure you keep track of these pieces because these can roll off the desk, roll on the floor, and they are vital to this thing working. We've got our 18 2-gauge wire. If I didn't explain before, the wire that was on the light is 18 gauge, and the 2 stands for the number of wires that are in it. Being that we have now another 18 2-gauge wire here that we're going to replace. You can see the 2 wires. We've got our hot here, which will connect to the gold, and then the all white wire that will attach to the silver side of the socket. One thing to note when you're cutting this, and the reason I cut this off camera, is there's a little bit of a delicate process here. This, first you want to cut the wrapping and remove that as much as you can to expose this inner wire. This is a large shielded wire that's around both of these. Then you can start working to cut that. Now, if you have wire cutters that can fit this gauge, it would be perfect for this. But if not, you can use the scissors. And the scissors, and like many people have probably seen in the past, is it's just a matter of working the scissor around the edge, cutting a slight groove, and then slowly pulling it away. A little more effort involved, but you don't have to spend money for a wire cutter if you're only going to use it for this one project. Now that we have this stripped and we've got our ends exposed, we're going to go ahead and twist these because we're going to have to press these into the socket itself. So we're not wrapping these. And now if you look at this, this is a little long, so I'm probably going to snip this just a little bit so that I don't have all this exposed wire coming out. So let me get my my wire cutters, and as this is twisted, I'll just cut that off. And I missed a little bit there. Cut that off. Twist this real good, and we'll cut this off right there. All right, we've got our wires. Okay, so now that we have these things ready to go, we can put them to our socket. Now, at this point, it doesn't really matter if I attach this because I still have this end that I can thread all these pieces back on. This is the business end. This is the very, very end of one of these lengths, and this is the very, very end of the other length. So, just so I don't have to trace this all the way around, I'm going to go ahead and start putting on the pieces that I know are going to be on this side of the line. So I'm going to go ahead, again, make sure this is oriented correctly. I'm going to go ahead and thread this through. Now at this stage, actually, no, I can't. So let me just say this. This is where the electric tape comes in handy here. We're going to cut a piece of electric tape so that we can keep this threading from moving on us and getting bunched up and caught up as we thread these pieces back on. Because we're going this way, this will help. If we were going the other way, it doesn't really matter because they've already taped the end for us. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut this because I want a pretty clean end, or as clean as I can get. And with that clean end, that should hopefully, in theory, make this easier to pass through. So let me go ahead and get that cut and taped on. And there we go. So in theory, this should slide on a little bit easier. It might bunch, but you know what? I can deal with it. So we've got that on. Start with our armature pieces next. And I am one to thread things on one at a time because I just want to make sure everything is right. What's next? This guy. We put our threads all the way through here, all the way down. And it can get hung up on some of the things. And I'll twist these wires together just to make this a little bit easier, because there are threads and undercuts under here and plastic intersecting metal, so these can get hung up on in there. And then next is our strain relief. Put that on over here. All right, so we've got these threaded on, and we've got our business end here. We're ready to connect this to the plug. We've got our hot. Hot goes to gold, white to silver. We're going to make sure that we have these lined up in here going to the corresponding one. So we're going to go ahead and attach these. I would twist these wires pretty good because they're going to have to be punched into these little inserts here. And we're just going to make sure we line up. Gold is on this side, right in there. And then white's on this side. I'm going to stick my white wire right in there. Well, sometimes these take a good bit of twisting to get in, so. That is interesting. All right, now we've got that. All right, we've got that connected up. Now we can start moving this strain relief into place and getting the rest of this starting to line up here. Just to see, we're going to bring this in. Make sure we line up our strain relief with the tabs. It kind of seats right into this area here. I don't know if you can really see that, but it seats right there. And then we'll twist this to line up our pegs and just to make sure. So now that I know sort of the orientation that this needs to be in, I'm going to clamp this down to make sure that this wire is not going anywhere. This strain relief is critical to the weight that this thing's going to bear. So we don't want to pull on those wires if we don't have to. And if I can tighten this strain relief and keep that from happening, it's going to make this light last a lot longer and prevent any possible damage down the road from this. So let's go ahead and slide this guy in. And this is where the fun happens. We just snap it together. And you just added a new length of cord to this. How awesome is that? So let's just go ahead and keep putting this thing together. And we're going to put this together. It's coming in like that. We've got that. And then finally our nut that will basically lock this assembly together. And just like that, you have successfully installed a new length of cord. This is just to show you that if you're in the store and you see a pendant light or a light and you're just like, well, I really like it, but the cord's not long enough. This goes with a power cord or even just this, pendant extension cord. They're pretty easy to change out. And this is just an example. This light was from IKEA. I can guarantee you that probably 90% of these lights have this socket, especially the pendants. And it's very easy to change out. Plus, this braided 18.2 wire, it comes in many different colors and patterns, and you can really accent and change the styling on this light pretty simply with wiring. So just to give you an idea of cost, I got 33 feet of this for $18 off Amazon. So that's not bad. I can do 2 lights with this. So that's basically $9 a light. I'll take it. And I get a custom piece that's going to work in the space that we're putting together. So this is pretty cool. Like I'd like to say, just thank you for watching, guys, and stay tuned. We'll have plenty of more videos about renovating a space.